Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. I'm joined by Chris B. Happy New Year, Chris. How are you?
Likewise, we were going it back and forth today via voice notes and text, so it seems sensible just to jump on a quick recording and treat it as a self-help session.
Yes,
middle-aged men getting rid of all their anger and having a sounding board to do it. The frustrations can be released.
Yeah, why do it over WhatsApp when we could vent and then people can watch this back? So if you are watching this is obviously a record. So when people type their comments in, please note this is not live, but just an hour for Chris and I to go through a few things. And Chris, always busy at Spurs, always something going on. But at the moment, it feels very much that a lot of it is one-way traffic and not really a lot of noise about incoming. So today we're going to go through Brennan Johnson, obviously has now left the building permanently. We're going to talk about Kota Takai and his move to Germany. We're going to talk about Jamie Donnelly being recalled and sent straight back on loan. There's a Brazilian kid that we're looking at, and we love buying teenagers, so we'll talk about that. And I know you want to talk a little bit about Vinay, a little bit about Mr. Venkatesham and what's going on at this club. So are you happy to get going? You good to start?
Yeah, let's get the party started.
Good. Well, let's have a look at this then, shall we? So Tottenham Hotspur in the last hour have said this. Let me bring this up on the screen for you. Tottenham Hotspur have said this. This is the official Tottenham Hotspur X page. By the way, it says, we have reached an agreement with Crystal Palace for the transfer of Brennan Johnson, the 24-year-old Wales international. His name will forever be etched into our history as the winning goal scorer in last season's Europa League final. His close-range effort proving to be the only goal as we defeated Manchester United. We thank Brennan for his contribution and wish him well for the future. Chris, I don't know what happened there. Sorry, Chris. He's gone. He's joined Crystal Palace, we believe, for £35 million. Good thing, bad thing. And why are our fan base split down the middle about this outgoing?
I think the first thing to say is disappointment, and that's disappointment that when we saw him at Nottingham Forest, predominantly off the back of a decent loan season, I think it was Mansfield, where he scored a lot of goals, then came back into the Forest team and did moderately well. He never fulfilled the potential or the hope that we had for him when we paid £45 million. We were thinking that we would go get something akin to Aaron Lennon, but another massive letdown. Did he or did he not score the winner in the European final? It's debatable, but the history books will say that he did. So good luck to the man. Personally, I've got no problems with him going. We need to better the quality of player in the club, and we need to have star performers. He's 24 years of age. Unless he has an incredible turn of events, I don't see him getting much better. And he was a winger. The frustrating thing was when the ball went to him, he was like a rabbit in headlights. He looked afraid. He didn't know what to do with the ball. And when you were thinking, you're alleged to have this unbelievable pace, drop your shoulder, go on, try and beat your opposing fullback, go on the outside, switch it up, go on the inside. Never offered anything of that. And yes, he scored a lot of goals, but a lot of them were tap-ins. There were none from distance. There were none where he took on a couple of players, showed his pace, dinked it through their legs, and then finished. They were all, he was there, the right time, the right place. There's nothing wrong with that. But we've got, as a club, this redeeming feature of being unable to cut the umbilical cord, and we maintain this fake love. If it's been linked with Maurizio Pochettino again, is it always good to go back second time round? People have had failed marriages, failed relationships. Does it work if you failed with separate from that person in the first place? Or we retain this unevidenced emotional attachment to somebody? And I get that feeling with Brennan. There's all these people in the fan base saying how disappointed they are. Oh, it's really bad news. Today I read some nonsense about the feeling in the changing rooms. The players were really upset that it was going. Well, perhaps we need to look in the mirror and see that we're looking at the reflection of boys as opposed to men. I haven't got a problem with it at all.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because there's a lot to unpack from what you've just said there. Let's start with the umbilical cord. I like that. I like that analogy. Look, we're a bit of a mess, I think, like from top to bottom. And we'll talk about that in the next hour. But we're a mess from the club, from the ownership, right the way through to the fan base, if we're brutally honest. For every person that's like me and you that says, yeah, I've got no problem with Brennan Johnson going, thank you, we wish you well, see you later. Our fans seem to have this real irrational attachment to average footballers. And if we actually take a step back, Chris, he is a very average footballer. And I don't understand. And let me ask you this. What is it that fans are watching with this guy and thinking, yeah, we don't want better? What are they watching and going, this guy should play more, we shouldn't have sold him?
Our fans, I think, generally suffer from premature player ratings. And we get so excited so quickly based on no factor evidence at all. And when was the last time Tottenham Hotspur signed a genuinely quality or game-changer player? We haven't. Not for years and years and years and years. You look at the current squad, it's full of boys when you need men. It is paper thin. And you know what? The only player, the three players I would stick with, Kudus, Xavi, and Van der Ven. The rest, all of them could go. I wouldn't lose any sleep over anybody else going, because they're all sub-quality. Like the whole shenanigans around the Vicario transfer. Yeah, Arsenal got Raya on a season-long loan with an obligation to purchase for lesser price than we paid for Vicario. And it's night and day, the difference between those two goalkeepers. But we've made a history of signing absolute rubbish. And bearing in mind, Angepostecoglou wasted £400 million. What with that £400 million have we seen? What's the return on that investment? Nothing at all.
Yeah. Well, I think the interesting thing for me that you've said there as well is, you know, we do rate players way too prematurely. And look, we're seeing it with so many now. Like, people have gone really early on Graham Bergvall. That, you know, I'm not saying that they can't be good players and everything, but they've gone so early with it, Chris. People going so early with Vuskovic. Now, I'm not saying Vuskovic won't be a good player, but everybody, oh my God, he's the greatest young centre-back in the world. And for me, I don't care about the name of the player. For me, I just want better. And lots of people say they want better, Chris, and they talk about Levy always being the problem. They talk about Enoch and the owners not buying better. And then when Spurs do move a player on who for me is average, we then start going, oh, this shows that we're not a big club. Well, no, hang on. Big clubs do this. Chelsea move players on every year.
Ruthlessly.
Liverpool move players on.
Ruthlessly, but also make a dividend on their return. Like, look at the money they got for Armando Broja and Leslie Unachekwa, or pronounce that totally wrong. From who both ended up at Burnley. They managed to sell their players and make money. We've stockpiled festering, smoking rubbish for years, and we've got to try and change that mindset.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, obviously, like, I'm not on X, so the account I use that you'll see here is a friend's account.
Okay.
No, it's a friend's account that he allows me to use just for transfer windows like this. Like I don't post on it, but I get sent every day, right? So much stuff, and I read so much of this fan base just really make me laugh, Chris. So, like, one of the ones I saw today was everyone going, "Oh yeah, see, look, Frank's really upset the dressing room by selling Johnson. They're not happy." You know, when you sit there and you think, sorry, what are we doing here? Are we, is this a world-class football club with world-class facilities and loads of finance? Or is this a boys' club where we all go, oh, well, we like Brennan because he's a good laugh in the changing room? Like, what are we doing here?
We're a multi-billion-pound sports entertainment industry. We've lost being a football club, and all of this ridiculous thing called a leadership group. And I think it's the most patronising thing ever. All of those people in that leadership group are weak-minded, underperforming individuals who can't take an honest look in a mirror and recognise that they're part of the problem.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, look, we always talk about it, right? You know, what would the other big clubs do? And for me, Chelsea's, City's, Liverpool's, Arsenal's, they're not buying Brennan Johnsons,
No,
Chris.
he wouldn't.
And,
Like,
and I tell you my point with this, right, is if you have a look at all the players that we might be selling, Chris, look at the clubs that are interested in these players. Look at the clubs that these players are going to end up on a permanent or a loan. So you've got Manor Solomon, who's gone on loan to bottom of the table Fiorentina.
yeah.
You've got Jamie Donnelly, who can't get in at Stoke. We'll talk about him in a minute. Can't get on at Stoke, so gets back and gets sent to Oxford, who are in a relegation battle. You've got Takai, who's going to Borussia Mönchengladbach, right? You've got Brennan Johnson, who's leaving and going to Crystal Palace, who, fair play, they've had a good couple of years, but are a relatively small Premier League club by finance, size of stadium, etc., etc. Our fans want to keep these players, and I can't make it make sense.
Dragusin, who's not kicked a ball in anger for probably going on to close to a year, with the exception of a few minutes as a sub against Palace. And his agent's out there scouring the Italian market. He wants away. Yeah. And you're thinking, Ben Davis, great servant for the club, won't knock him, but you're not going to build a footballing legacy on a bloke who's 33, 34 years of age. And like for me, Savva, and I've said it time and time again, but I'd be letting Romero go. The bloke's a liability. He's an enigma. All of the fan base think, he's generational. We've got a world-class talent. No, we haven't. He plays half reasonably for a Argentinian national side where he's got some outstanding players alongside him. But week in, week out, he reduces the tempo of Tottenham's football to walking speed. He's rash and he's a liability. For the sake of the football club, we've got to invest and get rid, move him on.
I do find it funny, like with the Romero chat. Like I've always said the same thing about Romero. I think he's a good defender, no more, no less, who is capable of world-class games. But when everyone goes, but he's a World Cup winner. Well, so was Otamendi. Mm-hmm. So was Mustafa. Was it Mustafa? The centre-half who played for Arsenal? Like, again, I watch him. 1 week you're going, yeah, you're brilliant. The next week he's rubbish. And have you noticed whenever he's rubbish, it's blamed on whoever his manager is? Yeah. Whenever he's rubbish, it's his centre-back partner. But anyway, look, we digress. So look, I suppose to round off the Brennan Johnson part of this, I think it's a good move for Spurs, and I think it's a good move for Brennan Johnson, right? Less pressure. He'll get game time at Palace, right? It's a good move.
Yeah, well, he threw his teddies out the pram. Was it this season when he removed any reference to Tottenham off of his social media channels after a little bit of back and forth with the fans? So all those people were booing and being negative and calling him this, that, and the other. It doesn't work both ways. If you were happy to do it then, but now you're crying over spilt milk that he's left, again, you need to have a good long look at yourselves and think about things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, let's move to the next story of today is this one. It is that Kota Takai. Remember him? Nope, me neither. Never seen him play. Has joined Bundesliga side Borussia Mönchengladbach on loan for the remainder of the season. He says, best of luck, Kota. And I believe, Chris, that this is with an option to buy.
Picked up on a German journalist who was saying that there's an option to buy around the exact same fee, 6 million quid that we paid for him. This was, again, a silly speculative punt, and it was one of two things. Either we were looking to perhaps embrace the Asia market following the departure of Son. You can see it. Japan's a massive country. Tourist shirt sales might have been at the back of Daniel Levy's mind. Or we saw some promise, or that promise has not played out on the training pitch, and they're thinking, actually, nah, time to get rid. But this guy's never even made it off the substitute bench wearing a Spurs shirt. And the question for me is, was this another Thomas Lang purchase? Who was there who's been scouting and seen some potential? As if it is, you need to have an honest conversation with him, because he can't continue to make signings that benefit the club in no capacity whatsoever. You might as well take that money, set fire to it, because we're not going to get anything back. But when we were desperately scratching around trying to get Eze, if we'd have gone in with an extra 6 million and said to Parish, okay, this is what you rate him at. This is his release clause. We'll give you 5 million more. Would that have made things change? Would it have got the transfer over the line? It's all ifs, buts and maybes. But again, it's wasted money.
Yeah. It feels strange. Like when we made that transfer, I remember in the summer being like, well, where did that come from? Like, why? And we're forever doing this, Chris. We're forever bringing in these players who clearly aren't good enough for the first 11, but people want to get behind, and that's great. I think it's great that people want to get behind players, but already gone out on loan in year one with an option to buy. So, like, literally, they can turn around and go, "Yeah, we want to take up this option." It's almost the same as like with Tell. Like, who bought him? I mean, if that's Johan Lang or Levy or whoever is going to take the blame, we've gone out in the summer again, bought into Takai and Tell, and you're thinking the big clubs don't do this, Chris. No, the big clubs don't bring in punts like this every single year like we do.
Well, you think about it, the amount of money combined that we've given Bayern Munich for Mathis Tell and then the season-long loan for Polinia. They're laughing all the way to the bank. They took our greatest ever centre forward from us, and we've lined their pockets with close to 45 to 50 million euros. Who's the mugs? Tottenham Hotspur FC every day of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt strange. And I think, listen, when you know, on the Matisse Tell piece, there's a lot of talk saying that he'll go out on loan as well, which I don't disagree with, Chris, but I disagree that he should have been bought in the first place.
Yeah.
But for me, the Takais, the Tells, the Odebers, the Greys, why the Yangs, why were these players signed for Tottenham Hotspur, and why are fans so emotionally attached with these players? I've got no, if any of the players I just mentioned left today, not one of them will I go, oh, that's going to be a big miss. Not Archie Gray can go. I just don't care about them. It's just not good enough, Chris.
Well, you look at all these players that we brought in, none of them will ever wear a Tottenham shirt. You've got this Yang who is struggling for game time at Portsmouth. You've got Donnelly, who couldn't get a game at Stoke under Mark Robins. So he had this season where he did relatively well for himself at the lesser level, playing for Leyton Orient, alongside the keeper, ended up Connolly, who ended up at Luton. But somebody has seen something. Mark Robins is no mug. He did well with Coventry. He's been, I don't know if he's been doing well with Stoke or not, but they were.
They were in a relegation battle last year. He's done all right.
But if he is seeing that player week in, week out on the training pitch, and he's saying, nah, he's not good enough for me, why do our fans think that he's ever going to make the breakthrough at Tottenham?
Agreed.
Then you go,
a sad indictment, right? So, like, if we move on to that with Donnelly, again, he's another one that all of those that seem to prefer the youth players to actually wanting to buy proper players. He's, as you said, good year at Leyton Orient, which is good. Goes to Stoke, and Stoke have got better players in that position than him. He's not got game time. He's been sent back, and now he's going to join Will Lancashire on loan at Oxford United. So
who hasn't been starting regularly for Oxford himself. He's been playing second fiddle to, I think it's Cameron, another young lad who plays up front, and Oxford are in free-for-all. They're in a relegation battle. They were being linked with John Terry, but I think John Terry's hanging around to see how the Chelsea scenario plays out, and the thoughts I could possibly get myself on the coach's staff there. But you go along the rest of them. Ashley Phillips, he's not getting regular game time at Stoke. Again, we had scouts going to Blackburn Rovers. They were completely blind to Adam Wharton, who would have been playing in the exact same games. And they came back with a young, unproven centre-back that will be like Joe Rodon, signed cheaply, never go on to play for us, and been loaned from pillar to post before we eventually get rid of him.
I'll tell you what's worrying about this more than anything is that these are the players that lots of streams I've done over the last year or so. These are the players that other YouTubers are telling me should be getting a game in our first team. Like, we're talking about players that can't get in at Stoke and Oxford, and we want to see them in a Spurs shirt. And at the same time, we all have a go at the owners for not buying better footballers. I'm really
Who's the other
I'm
one?
really confused at this club. I really am.
Who's the other one? A J.E. who has been linked to your guys the other day, Bromley FC or something.
Yeah,
So,
Bromley down the road from me.
Yeah, he couldn't get a game at Doncaster because some bloke I've never heard of was so highly thought of, he was keeping him out. Yet we've got people in our fan base telling us this kid is going to be a regular. If these guys aren't capable of getting minutes for League Two, League One, or Championship clubs, why does anybody think they'll magically go walk through the doors of the first team at Tottenham? It's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
and the next one, they're setting up to fail is Mason Melia, who arrived at the club yesterday from the League of Ireland. What's the chances we see him in the Spurs shirt in the next 18 months to 2 years? None.
Yeah. Well, but this is the thing. I think I'm trying to wrap my head around what are Tottenham Hotspur anymore, Chris? I know that sounds really deep, but I have no idea what we are. But more than that, Chris, I have no idea what we want to be. And we just seem to just have this constant revolving door of young kids, unproven signings. Fans are emotionally attached to average footballers. I mean, look at Odegaard, for example. If I put Odegaard and Tell together, right?
I'd rather not.
No, sure. But when I watch Odegaard or Tell, they start games. I don't see anything from them. But if they come on, they get a 10, 15-minute cameo where they have a couple of nice touches and people go, told ya. And I'm watching these players, Chris, going, told me what? Like, what is it that I'm actually meant to be looking at with these players? I just look and think, well, this is another bad signing by Tottenham Hotspur. And just quickly on this, Chris, I don't know if you've seen this, but I've got a different spin, a different take to a number of people. So it's all come out this week that Odegaard apparently in training is brilliant, right?
Yeah, I read those comments. Yeah,
right. Apparently he's brilliant in training, but he the big stage gets to him, and in front of the fans he's scared. I look at people go, oh, see, that's our fans, that's our club. I look at that and go, well, who bought him then?
Yeah, if he's not ready.
If he's not ready for that.
Yeah, he's not got the mentality.
No. But somebody in our club decided that 25, 30 million pounds of our transfer budget should go to buying him. And the worrying thing is, Chris, we're nearly 2 years on from him signing, and still it's, well, he could be good. He could be good. He might turn good. It's getting a bit of a theme, isn't it?
Well, the difference is we paid, I think, about 28 million or something similar for Odegaard. Yeah. Chelsea went out and paid 34 million for a Brazilian called Estavio, who's 18 years of age. Yet it absolutely leaves that bloke in his tracks. And that's the difference. If you go bring in young players, make sure that they are good to go and that they add something to the team. We just invest in junk. We go come on to it later. But this Brazilian left back, I've never heard of him. I go on, he's like 18 years of age. That's not what we need now.
Let's go. I'll tell you what, we can go on to that one, and then we'll come on to something else. Let me bring that up. So I think that was Tom Barkley that confirmed this. So Tom Barkley of the Sun, he's a Spurs guy, isn't he? And he said, let me just get this right. Sorry, 1 second. He said, why can't I find that? Here you go. Oh, so there's a couple of bits that he said today, actually. So here you go. Let's have a look at his page, right? So he has said, first one was, Spurs do hold an interest in Brazilian left-back Souza, who is 19, and he's from Neymar's Santos. As per reports in Brazil, and just so I can get rid of this page, he also says that down here about Wimbledon and Bromley showing an interest in a JE. Obviously, Bromley top. My boys Bromley top of League Two now, eh? A little mention for Bromley. But again, Chris, I can't sit here and say I know what this Souza is like. But Chris, it's another 19-year-old, right? Chris, what are we, or what are we trying to be? What is going on?
I don't think anybody has any idea, and we lack footballing people throughout the club. We lack people who know the game. We lack people like Paul Mitchell. We lack the likes of a Kevin Bond, a Harry Redknapp, a David Pleat, footballing men who knew the game, knew what you were trying to achieve. Now we've just become a mismatch of LinkedIn hires. And the fact that look, I'm not going to lose any sleep whatsoever if Paratici goes in 2 days as is expected. He's brought in some dross. I'm not really sure how good he is at his job. And one thing, he lacks integrity and loyalty based on his experiences during the summer.
Yeah.
Johan Lang, Aston Villa have catapulted to another level since he left. We heard that originally we were rejected by Tel. Daniel Levy had to get involved in negotiations because Lang was like a rabbit in headlights. If you leave him, bearing in mind we've lost Johnson, we've lost Mr. Miyagi, who we spoke about earlier. We are looking to move others on. The squad is now weaker than 48 hours ago. We need a competent negotiator, somebody who knows football, who goes in. You hear all these things about this Jan Diamande and people. You're pissing in the wind. You're laughing out loud. Nobody with anything of that magnitude is going to come anywhere near this football club, especially if they had the misfortune of watching Sky Sports last night and watching the Brentford v Tottenham game. They'd be sitting there if their agent had a word and said, look, there's potential interest in Tottenham. We could probably get you a move. You'd have turned the remote off, thrown it on the settee and gone to bed.
I'm not joining
thanks,
them,
no thanks. Yeah, why would I want to do that? That's my career over.
The interesting thing about what you just said there is, you know, when we talk about having a footballing plan, that all fits in with Paratici and Lang. These guys, for the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years, between them, have put this squad together. Now, we could. I'm not interested in the blame game of that was his player, that was his player. I don't care about that. All I know is this squad that isn't good enough has been put together by these two chaps. I don't care if they both go. What Spurs need, in my humble opinion, Chris, is we need a proper football guy, like a what's his name? Oh my God, I've just my brain is gone.
Ex-Bournemouth bloke, Richard Hughes, is it? Who's at Liverpool?
Oh, like a Richard Hughes. Yeah, we need someone like a Michael Edwards, a Paul Mitchell, a Richard Hughes. Who was the guy? Like a Ralph Rangnick as a director of football that can bring with him managers and has got a black book. But what we've got at the moment is, like you said, Johan Lang needing to get the chairman involved to get a deal over the line is. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that at Man City? Can you imagine that at Arsenal? Can you?
I reflect on that. I reflect on that performance in any other industry, and you'd be out of a job. If I was able to transact my core business on a day-to-day basis and had to get my line manager to come in and rescue the day, I pulled into an office and quite rightly had a very honest conversation, which would result in me picking up my P45 and exiting the building. Tottenham,
you can't get shit done, so why am I paying you to do it?
Yeah, exactly. That's how the real world works. And Tottenham is the only environment where nobody is held to account. You've created luxury facilities. You've got players that are paid beyond imagination that the working fan can only dream of. They are pampered. There is no expectation. Do you know what? Losing's become acceptable at this football club. And we no longer lose sleep, or no longer causes a reaction. It's just goes with it's a process. We lose, we wield some poor unsuspecting player in front of a camera, almost Marinakis style, where somebody's standing to the side of them with a gun and they're threatening and they feel obligated to come out with, oh, we've let the fans down, we're going to do better, but they never. It's just rinse and repeat.
I'll tell you the most worrying thing about that for me, Chris, is, you know, this is a football club that in the last 2 years have lost 43 games. 43, right? And we as a fan base sit there arguing about which manager is better than which manager that is better than which player. What does it matter? The club has lost 43 games in 2 years. That tells you something is fundamentally wrong at this football club that is deeper than any player, any manager, any director of football. And this is what I love, Chris. I don't watch as much YouTube as I used to. But when I watch these panel shows, I see people arguing about Frank versus Ange. And I'm like, what does it matter? Lang versus Paratici. Levy versus Vinay. What does, Chris, right now, the whole club for me is a mess. And let's be fair, you and I were part of this where we wanted Levy to go.
Yeah.
But I would say this, and I want to move on to the Vinay piece because this is something that you wanted to talk about as well. Yes, he's only been gone 4 months, Levy, but are we seeing anything different? Are we seeing any different leadership? Every player we're linked to is about 12 years of age. Like, has anything changed, Chris, at this football club? Or are we just pretending it has because everyone disliked Levy that much?
Just before we get onto that subject, all I'm going to parallel this with is last night we went to Brentford. We went to a Brentford side that had lost its best 3 players, Mbuemo, Nordgaard in midfield, and who else did they lose? Wissa to Newcastle. Yep. And their set-piece coach picked up the realms, yet he has managed to get maximum points for Brentford in comparison to their previous history. So he has continued. Frank's not been missed there. He's almost not been noticed. And it's the similar style with Vinay and Levy. Yes, Levy's gone, but his ghost is still hovering over the football club. And Vinay, we were told, was all about communicating with the fans, honesty, integrity, transparency, listening, was really passionate about that. But he's been a sinkhole has opened up along N17 High Street and sucked him in. And with the exception of a glimpse of him at Crystal Palace last Sunday, sitting alongside Paratici, where is he? What's his thoughts on it? What's he doing? Yeah. He should be there, front and centre, addressing the toxicity that is forming in this football club. Because you've got a manager who, through his own doing, is losing the fan base. And you've got committed, passionate fans such as Lubo investing hard-earned money following this club hundreds, if not thousands of miles around the country. They deserve better than that. But you've got to read the room. And at the moment, we're not reading the room. I sent you a link today. How many tickets are readily available for the Sunday game against Sunderland? Yeah. We are failing to fill a £1 billion sports entertainment arena. And it's only going to get worse. If they don't address the fan feeling, that stadium's going to have more empty seats than the ones that are filled.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we'll move on to Thomas Frank in a little bit, but it does feel like Thomas Frank is struggling. And what I'm noticing now is they seem to be wheeling him out every day for press conferences where I don't think that's the right thing, right? And I almost feel like somebody higher up needs to take some pressure off and come out and let us know as a fan base, hey, this is what's happening. This is our plan. Because, Chris, I'm not going to panic because it's the 2nd of January, right? So like, I'm not going to turn around and go, oh, like I've called this New Year, same Spurs. And it's a question because no one knows. But what I was really hoping, Chris, was Levy's gone. The owners have turned down expressions of interest from parties that want to buy the club. They've talked a good game about winning leagues, winning Champions Leagues. We've had 4 months since the transfer window shut to gear up for this very moment, Chris. And I was expecting, no, let me change that. I wanted to see if things had changed, that Tottenham from day one of the transfer window went, right, bang, there we go. This is who we've been speaking to. There's a bid for somebody. Or Spurs are in talks with. At the moment, all I'm seeing is players leaving, which is not a problem, Chris. It needs to happen. But I've seen nothing about a concrete bid. And that's what I want to ask you. Is that the most disappointing thing, that Spurs never seem to attack a transfer window from it's open, right, go? Like West Ham have. West Ham have signed 3 players.
2 forwards and Adama, Traore. Right. Yeah.
They've signed 3. Man City, right? We know that they're going to get Semenyo over the line, right? I saw today as well, West Ham are trying to get, not saying I want him, but they're trying to get Sterling. So at least West Ham are going, hang on, we're in a mess. Let's try and help out on. We're just we're in a mess going, nah, don't worry about it. We're just loaning some kids out. And is that disappointing?
The disappointment is, Savva, if we'd have won away last night at Brentford, and if we, by fluke, were to beat Sunderland at home on Sunday, we'd be around the 6th in the league point. And you've got West Ham spending because they need to preserve Premiership status. On the other hand, we're not going to qualify from Europe at the moment based on our league form. So had somebody had something about them, they could have said, look, if we bring in 3 or 4 real quality players, that Europa League is possibly within touching distance. We just seem to be not pulling the deals. We are a ship that's drifting along and it's sort of bobbing up and down, and we're not getting any closer to the coastline. But if it's not reined in fairly quickly, we'll go out further to sea. There doesn't appear to be all the deals that we're pursuing, we should have known from the summer. Football clubs generally work 12 months in advance unless an opportunist moment comes along, or a player hits a patch of form, or somebody comes from under the radar. We don't seem to be doing that. And do you know what's really shocking for me last night is that we had 2 goalkeepers on the bench, and then we keep on saying about youth and potential qualities, but we've never got a pathway into the first team. And we've heard so much about this Luca Barnett-Williams. What would have been the harm to have had him on the bench and thought, you know what, we're creative. It's like watching paint dry, our lack of creativity. Let's throw him on for 10, 15 minutes. If you're good enough, you're old enough. And that's proven by Max Dowman down the road at Arsenal, 15, 16 years of age, playing Champions League football.
Well, I mean, to back up your point, this was the bench yesterday.
Oh, dreadful, wasn't it?
I mean, but again, I think this goes to highlight just how badly put together this squad is. And let's be brutally honest, Brandon Austin is here because he's homegrown. Right? Let's be brutally honest, right? Kevin Danso, I think of all of those players there, I think Kevin Danso is a good, solid, sensible signing. No more, no less. You just know what you're going to get. Davis should not be here. Dragon Singh, I mean, he's been here, what, two years?
Yeah, injured for a good 12.
Right. Okay. You've got Kinski, who is not good enough for me. Colin Mawani, who was a panic buy. Kulusevski and Scarlett are kids. Yeah. And Matisse Tell is not good enough.
You say that, Savva, but Scarlett's been at the club for a long time. And he's had a number of loans, one of which I think, again, was at Oxford, where he couldn't hit a barn door. And his only goal, I think, was in that same game that Ajay scored in the European run. Yeah. And we were that desperate last night. He was never going to put any of these kids on. But Thomas Frank is not a manager to bring on kids.
But the point is, with the £1 billion game-changing stadium, this is the bench that Tottenham are able to put out for a match day. And then what's even more worrying, and Chris, I don't know if I asked you this morning. I was asking a few different people. And I said, you know, in this picture here, just assume Gray is in front of Bentancur and Paulinho, right?
That's a 10, yeah.
And the question I was asking was, is this the weakest front four you have seen in 2 to 3 decades at Tottenham? We see. So I see loads of people going, it's Brentford. We should be beating them easily at their. And I'm like, should we be beating Brentford easily when our front four is Gray, Richarlison, Odegaard, and Kudus? I think this goes to show, Chris, that we have been put together so badly as a squad, right? That I just don't know. When people say, like people go, well, we'll only strengthen if somebody comes along better than what we've got. I mean, at this stage, isn't it going to be more difficult to buy players worse than what we've got? It's terrible.
And this is where we run the danger. If Frank's not the man, we have to put our hands up and admit that sooner rather than later. Because if you had a chance of getting a quality player, they might be put off if week in, week out, we're getting stories of our own fans booing our own team, our own fans booing our manager, the sports journalists throughout the land thinking it's funny to mock Tottenham openly. This attracts the brand. And failing brands, if you've got something about you, you wouldn't want to come anywhere near this mess.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I said this morning on a video I did that for me, this club isn't just about the manager. Like I know at some clubs you can turn around and go, right, the manager's got to go. He's terrible. But you know, everything else at the club is really well organised. So for example, if Liverpool wanted to sack Slot, it's not because Liverpool are run terribly. Liverpool are a great a great club with a good pool. They win trophies. Director of football's good, but the manager's not doing well. The problem that I see at Tottenham, and I keep saying this, Chris, and people don't listen to the full thing. You can sack Thomas Frank. Because the whole thing is a mess from owners, director of football, medical team, scouts, players, manager. The whole thing right now stinks. And right now, if you removed Frank and put in any other manager right now, it doesn't matter, insert who you want, we're still in a mess, right? We're still in a mess.
We need to hit the factory reset button. And do you know what amazes me? The amount of times I go onto LinkedIn, not to read your posts, but just to be nosy and see the amount of times that Tottenham Hotspur are advertising for first-team coaches and things via the power of LinkedIn. And I've never seen any top six. When was the last time you went on there and saw Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Aston Villa advertising via social media platform for recruitment for key roles in a first-team squad? It's just bizarre.
Yeah. Do you know the key word for me, Chris, is stability. And I've been really clear about this, right? I'm not going to die on a hill for any manager or any player. I'm not, right? If the manager needs to go, he will go, right? The results will dictate whether the manager goes. Now, obviously, him losing the home fans is never as bad, funnily enough, as losing the away fans, right? But if he starts to lose the away fans like I did last night, we know how this ends and he will go. My worry is that you bring somebody else in, Chris. I think you get a bit of feel-good factor for a few games, maybe a month. But you know what, Chris? Underneath, all of those underlying issues are still there. Like it's run so badly at Tottenham, isn't it? So badly.
I've got good news for you. Ryan Mason will probably be imminently available. We talk about going back for an ex-Flame. What better opportunity?
Yeah, but Chris, do you know what? Listen, you and I, obviously, we chat most days on WhatsApp. How many times have I said to you now, I'm at the stage where I'm so browbeaten by this football club that I genuinely don't care who the manager is anymore until the club actually have a plan and sort it out. So, as I've said, sack the manager all you want. At the moment, all you're doing is putting another bloke in that seat who will be the fall guy. And I've just come to the... I'm not even angry, Chris. Look how much calmer I am than I used to be. I'm like...
I've just sent you a WhatsApp and this has started circulating. And if there is any truth to this, then it will just turn into a circus and it will make us look absolutely pathetic.
Oh, I mean, that's just ridiculous. So what we're seeing here is... yeah, I mean, this is what you've just sent me, right? So it's a Frank out pitch invasion. I mean, talk about embarrassing ourselves as a bunch of fans. This is ridiculous. But do you know what, Chris? What it might need, I'll tell you what it might need is if Frank does go and the next manager comes in and we welcome him in, I think that new manager, again, is going to be under so much pressure. And I think the fans are going to slowly but surely realize this is a mess. Like the club is a mess because that new manager coming in is going to be expected with the same group of players to suddenly play a nice brand of football and win more games. And I can't see it happening, Chris. I just can't, mate.
Unless you're a manager who's a mercenary and interested in money only. Look at some players who, looking at the football club from the outside, I thought it's very funny that Semenyo respectfully declined our advances. He didn't respectfully decline. He said, I don't want anything to do with this football club. Thanks, but no thanks. I want to go somewhere where there's ambition. I'm going to win things. I'm going to play entertaining football. And my careers go catapult. If I come to Tottenham, like so many before me, it's fraught with disaster.
Yeah, it's just tough, isn't it? Because look, deep down, it doesn't matter who we are, you know, whether we're fans on YouTube, fans on Instagram, X, whatever. We all want Spurs to do well, but there are some people that are looking at the micro problem, some people that are looking at the macro problem, some people that are looking at the whole thing and going, this is a mess. And this is where I've arrived in the last year. That's where I've arrived at the point of, I genuinely don't care. Sack Frank, bring in Ryan Mason, bring in Brendan Rodgers, bring in Stephen. I genuinely don't care if we do not start acting like a proper club, it doesn't matter, because all that person is doing is keeping that seat warm for the next guy in the next 12 to 18 months because of the expectation at this football club.
Our football club is a living parody. It's a living parody channel. All we are is providing paddy power, lots of advertising opportunities. We're allowing everybody to put the boot in and belittle and smirk about £1 billion business. It's just ridiculous. And that coming back to our earlier point, where is Vinay? He is accountable for this. He is paid 1.5 million a year basic salary with bonuses on top of that. He is your CEO, your chief executive officer. It finishes and it starts with him. If he's not good enough and he's more of a football administrator, which he possibly was at Arsenal, then he needs to be said. He needs to be told thanks, but no thanks. Clear your desk. You're out of it.
Yeah. Well, look, I think this is a great point about Vinay, and this for me is why I can't put my finger on one thing that's wrong at this club, because there's so many things that are wrong at this football club, and I'm genuinely at the stage now where I don't go into any game expecting a lot. I'm not going into the seasons expecting a lot. I don't go into the transfer windows expecting a lot, and I don't know what we are as a club. That's my overarching feeling, Chris, is that when people go, "Oh, Spurs," I go, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't know." Like if you look at Chelsea, for example, Chelsea are like a jacked up, richer version of Spurs. Like, they're always a mess. But you know what, with Chelsea, they keep going and they keep going and they keep pouring in hundreds and hundreds of millions and buying players and winning things. And I look at us and go, we're a mess. Chris, this is a huge mess.
Yep. And let's be fair to Tavistock Group, which is ENIC. They are successful business people. They've got assets around the world. They've built entire communities and holiday resorts in Florida. They're not stupid people. They are leaders in what they do. And they need to, if they're not going to invest in the club, and if they're going to be just like Daniel Levy was before, they need to admit that it's not for them and move it on. They won't, but there are many people around the globe that would invest in buy this football club overnight.
But you see, the difference from what you just said there is they are brilliant business people. They are not fools. They are not idiots. But what they are not is they are not football people.
Yeah.
And again, this is something that Lubo always says. Well, I agree. Somebody at this football club needs to be the football guy. Whether that is you, again, like I use Ralph Ragnick not as a manager but as a director. Whether that is somebody you bring in like a Ralph Ragnick and they go, right, here's the keys. You are in charge of all things football. We're not getting involved. This is your budget, right?
Yep.
If you need more money, come to us. But this is your budget. You are in charge of football from top to bottom. You make the decisions. You sack the managers. You hire the directors of football. You hire the scout. You are in charge. And until we get that, Chris, all we're doing is dealing with the little problems here or there, never actually dealing with the big problem upstairs that no one knows how to run a football club properly at Tottenham.
When you've been into companies in the past, when you've joined new employers, they've always instilled in you what their DNA is, what their values are, and what their beliefs are. If you think about Tottenham Hotspur, going back to the good old days of Bill Nicholson and alike, we have eroded the history and the DNA and the beliefs of the football club and nowhere to be seen. And we need to actually rediscover what it was that Tottenham Football Club was created to do. And that was to entertain people, be attractive, to be on the front foot. We need to be true to ourselves and realise the structure we have too many yes men. It's too complicated. We need one person who is in charge and he has overall responsibility for anything football related. And if he's not fit for purpose, you get rid. He's no different to anybody else. And you have yearly performance reviews. If you're not cutting the mustard, you should be walking.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like the Paratici thing, Chris. At the moment, no one from Tottenham has come out and actually told us what is going on with this.
Yeah.
Like, widespread reports that he's going to Fiorentina. Somebody, for me, it's only a personal opinion. Somebody for me needs to come out and tell
Of
us,
course.
no, he is staying, or yeah, Paratici will be leaving the football club. Because right now, if I ask you, Chris, who's in charge of our signings?
No idea. No idea.
Right? Who is it? Is it Lang? Is it Paratici? Is Vinay doing it?
So can you imagine Paratici does go, and we're hearing this date of the 4th, which is 48 hours away. He could generally have signed Manor Solomon and then re-signed him in 2 different spells with 2 different clubs. He's brought that bloke in and then taken him away again. But there is so many unknowns, and that's that. And it doesn't buy trust, or it doesn't buy faith, and all that stuff we heard about transparency, that is lacking and missing if Paratici disappears and Vinay's not there in front of the camera addressing it and saying what went on and putting it to bed.
Mate, and the problem is, what you were saying about having that one leader at the top is, at least with that person, you know they're in charge. So like at Arsenal, for example, I don't like using them. We know that Nicola, I always forget his first name. We know that Berta, I always say Nicola. I'm always thinking of Nicola Berti. Do you remember he played for Spurs? For
From Inter Milan, the midfielder.
Yeah.
But the same time as Tramezzani.
Yes. But Berta has gone in at Arsenal, and from everything I'm hearing, he runs it. He runs it. He does all the transfers. He's in charge. This is his club. He's just hired somebody else from Napoli to work with him, I believe. And you go, right, that's a football structure. Everybody's known at Man City for years that was it Tiggy Bickenstein, or however you say his name? He was the guy in charge of football. Michael Edwards has been, Paul Mitchell. These guys, Richard Hughes, they ran it. I look at Spurs and go, so is Vinay running it? Like, is Vinay the guy in the suit? Is he the one running football? Who's doing negotiations? Is Lang in charge? Because we're only linked with kids from all over Europe.
Well, this bloke allegedly coming in from Man City, director of football transactions. Yeah. What is that all about?
Yeah, Rafi Mawson, isn't it?
Yeah. And where does he work? What does he do? It's just more unknown.
Do you know what makes me laugh about that is it's almost like, and Sean made a really good point this morning on his show. He said, you know, you had Levy who put his arms around everything and didn't relinquish any control to anybody. And now he said you've got a flat structure where there's just so many of them that we're like, well, where does the blame lie? Like, at least with Levy, right? I don't want Levy. At least with Levy, we all went, it's him. It's Levy's fault. Right now, I couldn't tell you whose decision was it to sell Johnson, by the way. Not saying it was a bad one, but was that Lang? Was that Frank? Did Paratici broker that?
We all had our thoughts and reservations about Levy, but one thing he was very good at was keeping everybody pulled together. He was the man who micromanaged everybody, so he did keep a relatively tight ship. But now we're reading things about squabbles internally, people leaving after 3 months ago, signing contracts. We've got medical teams that are Solanke, supposed slight ankle strain. We've not seen him since the 13 minutes that he featured against Man City when we won 2-0 earlier at the beginning of the season. There are all these issues, and it's like a forest fire. If you don't send Red Adair in to try and smoulder the flames, it gets out of control. And that we're at that point. If we don't address these small things turn into a big thing, and then they become a massive issue to resolve.
And I think that's the strange thing for me, right? Is I get it. I listen. Let's talk about Frank for the last 6 minutes or so, and I get it. And the manager of any football club is in the firing line. That's part and parcel of the job. They sign up for it.
Comes with the territory, doesn't it? It's a results-orientated business.
Of course. But what I'm seeing is already, and I see a theme. When a manager joins Spurs, right, on the first day, Chris, I don't know if you've noticed this. They're like, hi, I'm so excited to be here. Like their face is glowing and I'm proud. And some of them take 3 months. Some of them take 6 months. Some of them take a year, Chris. But they get to that stage where you watch that one press conference where you go, yep, we've beaten that man down. Like we've drained the life out of him.
I was looking this morning at the this morning when I was in a self-reflective mood, I looked at the first tweet Tottenham put out when Frank was announced, and it's Thomas lays down his principles. Brave? No. Aggressive? Yeah, we've had a few needless red cards. Attack? Not in a million years. And you just think all managers come into Tottenham full of ambition and hope.
Yeah.
And then the realization hits them of what they're expected, the environment they're working in, the lack of structure, the lack of support. And we break many a good man. And there's going to be a rocking chair somewhere with former Tottenham managers rocking back and forth, picking up the phones, brand new, picking up the phone to Samaritans who have very kindly jumped on recognizing the mental anguish and the mental health that we're creating, our own players and managers.
But it's almost like I feel like Frank's got there quickly. Like I feel like Frank looks like a broken man after 4 months, right? In terms of September, October, November, December, he looks like a broken man. And I'll reiterate again, Chris, we can sack him, but I feel like the next guy that's going to come in, this is rinse and repeat. This is rinse and repeat at this stage.
I've got a few extra minutes, so we'll just go for a little while. But I think what Frank had going for him was goodwill from the Brentford fan base that he got them promoted via the playoffs when they came up. Mm-hmm. When he came up with them, their expectation was only to retain Premiership survival year on year to continue with the revenues. They're a small club, not signed massive players as we have done. When you come to Tottenham, it's a different prospect all in its entirety. There's a different expectation. And you couldn't come to Tottenham with those same footballing beliefs, thinking that what you achieved and what was required at Brentford will be the same as what's expected or required at Tottenham. If you did, then you're very naive and you're not going to last long. But my observation is I think he's getting a bit too prickly too soon into his Tottenham career. And I think he's trying to make silly when he's been asked about things. He was last night trying to play the positives around the defensive display. Well, setting up not to lose a game as opposed to setting up to try and have a go at winning, that's very Gareth Southgate-like. And that's what he did with England. He had golden opportunities at international football in finals to finally get some hands-on trophies. Didn't take it. And that's what I feel is very similar to the Frank approach.
Yeah. Do you know what? Let me ask you a question. And look, I'm somebody that's always backed Frank and I want it to work. But me wanting something to work and me thinking, will he get enough time for it to work? I genuinely don't think he will. How long do you think he's got? Like unless there's this sudden upturn in games and results and performances, the fans have made up their mind, right? So how long do you think he will be manager at Tottenham? Will he see out this season? There you go. There's my question to you. Will he see out the season?
Look, if we were to lose against Sunderland on Sunday, it's already a toxic stadium. I sit in the South Stand and there's a lot around me who can't stand him, and it's the toxicity that's not helpful for anybody. We're not going to progress via Aston Villa in the FA Cup. So that's another avenue that's going to close down for us. If we progress further in the Champions League, if we play as we have been in recent games against the supposed lesser teams, Brentford and Crystal Palace, against a Barcelona or an Inter Milan or a Juventus, it's going to be like when we got thumped at Wembley by Bayern Munich. It's boys against men. Then that avenue. The thing for the Tottenham board and the club are they honestly buying into a long-term project? And if so, they're prepared to sacrifice European football next season, as we're not going to get it.
Yeah.
If they're not, they come to a point where they think, actually, that 8 points between us and the chasing pack at the top of the table is now down to 11 or down to 14. There becomes a point where it's not achievable. You're not going to catch up. The gap becomes too wide. And then they have to think, or are they thinking, that's been murmured and mentioned previously, are they thinking, well, World Cup next year, Pochettino's there, he's at America are not going to go anywhere. He could be instantly come available. Does he plaster the wounds and could we bring him back just to try and get the fans on board? Do I think that's the right option? No, I don't. But there's going to be plenty of people, specifically Lubo we spoke to a few weeks back, and that's what he was calling for. So football's a results-orientated business. If you're not getting the results, you're looking over your shoulder. Generally, can you remember when you lost 5 games on a bounce, you were practically gone? Yeah. Now it's perhaps 3 or 4, but you've got clubs like Nottingham Forest. And what are they on? Their 3rd manager this season. They started the season with Nuno, sacked him, brought in Ange, sacked him. Now they're with Sean Dyche, so they're not afraid to pull the trigger. And I hated football and I hated life under Ange Postecoglou. But I looked at last night's performance and I thought everything I hated about Ange was his recklessness for the being pressing so far up the pitch and being attack. Like when we were down to 9 men against Chelsea, all he wanted to do was attack.
And now it's the complete opposite.
Yeah, now I'm thinking, I'm having to ask questions of myself. I'm thinking, do you know what? From what I saw last night, I was almost like thinking, I'll come back, Ange, all is forgotten. Not that I would, but my own mind was playing games with itself. I was so cynical.
Me, two wrongs don't make a right, though. For me, I get what
I found voices in my head arguing with each other, and I was like, I hated everything about Ange Postecoglou and his football. But now I'm watching this, and I'm not enjoying 1 minute of it, and it is so.
Do you know what I think we need? If Frank is going to work, and we'll wrap up in 2 minutes, but I think if Frank is going to work, he needs a couple of things to happen. He needs one. We need to go on a run of wins, which is possible with the games we've got coming up.
Yeah, the possibility of the previous game we won against Palace, we could have and should have won against the Brentford side, but based on the performance, we never were. Sunderland on Sunday, you have a gritty team of, you imagine Granit Xhaka will play through our midfield like a knife going through paper, as he's a man in a man's world. And then we've got your West Ham somewhere along the line, Nottingham Forest somewhere along the line.
Burnley,
but neither of them, with the exception of Burnley, who are rubbish, they're relegated already. The rest remain in doubt because we're not a good football side. We're not playing good football.
He needs a run of wins. I think he also desperately needs to get back Solanke, Kulu, Maddison. Like, he desperately needs to get back some of these attackers. And more than anything, if he is going to succeed, he, as well as us, the fans, need some bodies in January.
Yeah,
and
but somebody...
the worrying thing for me about this is, if you remember 2 weeks ago, he came out and he was really bold and he said, we will be active, we will be bringing players in, and we will not be waiting until the 31st of January. Now, that message, Chris, has suddenly changed to, it's January, it's a tough window, and we'll see what we can do. And it's almost as though I think like he knows that this is borrowed time. I'm not saying I would sack him, but and I think fans always get this confused, Chris. Just because I wouldn't sack him doesn't mean I don't think he will get sacked at some stage.
Do you know, I'd lose absolutely no sleep if he's sacked. But is it going to solve any purpose? No, because the bigger concern is the whole running of the football club from top to bottom.
Great. And that's the only thing. When people, like, I know the comment section of this video, people go, you're Frank, you got it. It's like, I can say till I'm blue in the face, Chris, sack any manager you want. I don't really care. All I know is that will be a temporary solution, and it doesn't fix the permanent problem. And that's where I'm at with it, right? That's
my thoughts are that he is accountable. He is the manager. The way the team is deployed is on him. He should be doing so much better on the training pitch. And do I like his football? No. Am I a big fan of his? No. But I've got to the point where I don't care anymore. I said to you on a voice note earlier, I've had a season ticket for 36 years. Am I bothered about getting one next season? No, not really. Could I save myself money? Yeah, a lot of money. Yeah. And the thing that really gets me is actually, based on what we've seen and his approach to football, would we trust him with money? And what's to say that all these players he brings in, is he going to be there at the end of the season? As I have a massive doubt that we kick off the first game next season with him in charge.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, can I tell you, last thing, sorry, we do need to wrap up, but I genuinely think that this whole Pochettino thing doesn't help any manager at Tottenham Hotspur. Right?
It goes back to what we first spoke about. We're not prepared to cut the umbilical cord. We're not prepared to let go and wave somebody off into the distance. So I really enjoyed that. It was a lovely relationship, but for our own benefit, both of us need to move on and do other things.
Because whatever happens, Chris, and we're all guilty of this, like I'm as guilty as the next person, because whenever we talk about things, I go, oh, well, look at this team. I bring this up. Look, it's ready to go. Look at this team we had under Poch. And again, I'll big up Sean here. Something Sean said was he almost needs to come back at some stage for that itch to be scratched. That's what Sean said for some fans. Now, I think it'll be a mistake. I think Poch coming back, what he did the first time around, yes, we know he didn't win, but was very, very good. And I don't see it being like that again, Chris. There's going to be no Harry Kane, no Son, no Dembele to run the show. There's no Walker, there's no Lloris, no Rose, the Tongan Alderweireld. So, but this is hanging over every time it starts going wrong, whether it was Conte or Jose or Nuno or Ange, Frank. What do we automatically do? What's Poch doing? Could we get Poch back? And you're like, so look, Chris, I'm going to leave it there. Let me just quickly get your opinion. 2 questions. 1, what will the score be on Sunday against Sunderland? And 2, will Spurs bring in anybody on a permanent basis during this transfer window? And I'm not talking about teenagers. I'm talking about a proper first-team player.
I think on Sunday, I think we'll lose 2-1. Having watched Sunderland the other night against Manchester City, and considering that the percentage of Sunderland's best players are currently away on the AFCON, they're a dogged, rugged team who work for each other. They're well set up. This Regis Labrie, is it? The manager I've never heard of previously. He's got them playing compact, difficult to beat, but they're all committed. They all buy into it. They all wear the club badge on their hearts. And I, for some unknown reason, which I can't justify or explain, I still think we'll get 3 players. Who they'll be, I think we'll get a left-sided midfielder, I think we'll get a forward, and I think we'll get a left-sided centre-back.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because imagine just spitballing here. Imagine we went out and got Lookman on the left, Tony up front, and a good central midfield or whatever. Could change everything, couldn't it? 2 or 3 players, if they're the right ilk, suddenly football looks better. We're more creative. But hey, Chris, this is Tottenham. Listen, thank you so much for giving me an hour of your life. I really appreciate it.
Great chatting, and we live in hope, yet we know the outcome already.
And you know what? This is why I've said, this is why I'm stop doing live streams. I'm not going to stress about it. This is Spurs. I'm set up for the heartache. And we all know something will happen between now and May. Something big will happen at this club, whether it's for the good or the bad. And we'll all be here to talk about it. But listen, thank you very much, Chris. Everybody who's watching this video, I hope you've enjoyed it. Please smash the like button. Please comment in the chat, but keep it football, please. And also, please subscribe as well as we continue to grow. So much love. Thank you to Chris. Happy New Year to all of you. And as always, come on, you Spurs.